What's going on, everyone? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a Titan Void build that revolves around the most broken Titan exotic in the game, Heart of Inmost Light. Heart of Inmost Light's perk is Overflowing Light. It reads as using an ability, whether that be your grenade, melee, or barricade, empowers the other two abilities. Empowered means abilities have faster regen, melee and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. Essentially, the way this exotic works is if you pop your barricade, your grenade and your melee will do more damage as well as have a faster regen, and vice versa for any of the other abilities. The whole point of this build is to be an ability spam demon, making everything explode with Void 3.0. Before we get into the build here, though, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I appreciate each and every one of you stopping by the video and giving it a watch. Without further ado, though, let's get into the build. Starting in the subclass here, the super you're going to want to run is Ward of Dawn. However, you could run Sentinel Shield if you want. For the barricade here, I prefer to run Towering Barricade over the Rally Barricade. However, if you're going to do some damage in a boss fight, a Rallycade's not a bad call due to the amount of reload you get behind it. For the movement ability, I prefer Catapult Lift to the other Titan lifts. However, you can use whatever you want. For the melee ability, I like to use Shield Throw over the Shield Bash in PvE, as you can kind of just do a lot more damage and kill a lot more adds with the Shield Throw. For our nade here, we're going to be running Vortex nades. These are hands down my favorite nade to use in the Void subclass, so I always run Vortex nades. For our aspects here, we're going to be starting with Bastion, as you cast your super to grant overshield to nearby allies, and when you cast your barricade, it gives an overshield to yourself and nearby allies, as well as empowering it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the overshield of allies behind it and extend their overshield duration. Next up, we have Controlled Demolition. The way this works is hitting a target with a Void ability or Volatile explosion will make them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode, and it grants you and nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. This is basically just the explosion build, if you want to call it that. For our fragments here, we're going to be running Echo of Remnants, so our grenades have a increased duration. Our Vortex nades are just going to sit there, last longer, allowing us to get more damage and more kills with it. Next up, we have Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. So if you're running void weapons, which you should be doing with this build, they're going to have volatile rounds. And because of Heart of Inmost Light, you're going to be getting your grenade back quite a bit. You're going to be spamming those nades, and this is going to pair well perfectly with Controlled Demolition, as you're going to be making volatile enemies. And those enemies are going to be exploding as you're killing them with nades, killing them with your shield throw, or killing them with your volatile rounds from your weapons. And then lastly, we're going to be running Echo of Undermining. Your void grenades weaken targets. Weakening enemies is never a bad thing in this game, especially when you're doing something like a boss fight or you're fighting a champ. This is going to help out a ton, as it's going to weaken them, allowing them to take more damage from your weapons. If you have volatile rounds up, you're going to be doing a lot more damage with those volatile rounds. Overall, it is a very beneficial thing to use, as weakening enemies is always a good thing. The minus 22 discipline may look like a bad thing to begin with. However, Heart of Inmost Light overpowers your grenade regen, so that's not really going to matter. Moving on to the weapons in this build, what you're going to want to run is as much Void as possible. So in your heavy slot, something like a Taipan, something like a Corrective Measure, or even an Eager Edge Sword would be great, or a Void Rocket Launcher. Regardless, you're going to be wanting to use Void weapons to take advantage of volatile rounds. Same goes for your energy slot, whether you're running a special Void weapon or a kinetic Void weapon such as Funnel Web here, or if you want to run a special, something like Deafening Whisper. Regardless, all of these Void weapons are going to benefit from volatile rounds. If you want to run something in your kinetic slot, though, that could gain access to it, run something with Osmosis, as anytime you throw a grenade, that weapon will gain volatile rounds. So you will actually have a third weapon that could benefit from volatile rounds. If you want to run something like a SMG with Osmosis in the kinetic slot, you could definitely take advantage of that. And you could pair that with Deafening Whisper, so you have a ton of variety with your volatile rounds. Now let's take a look at the mods on our armor here. On our helmet, we're going to start with Harmonic Siphon as well as Elemental Ordnance. Harmonic Siphon, anytime we get a kill with our Void weapons, we're going to have a chance to spawn a Orb of Power, allowing us to regen our super faster. And Elemental Ordnance, we're going to be throwing our nades so much with our ability spam thanks to Heart of Inmost Light, so we're going to be creating a ton of Void Elemental Wells. On our gauntlets here, we're going to be running Elemental Armaments to give us the ability to generate even more elemental wells with our void weapons. On our chest piece here, we're going to be having Font of Might. Anytime we pick up one of our Void Elemental Wells, it will give us more damage to our Void weapons, as Font of Might allows you to gain a increase to damage on weapons that match your subclass when you pick up an Elemental Well of that same subclass. On our boots here, we're going to be running Insulation, Better Already, and Well of Tenacity. Better Already allows you to regen health once you pick up an Orb of Power, and Insulation reduces the class ability cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power. So because we have Harmonic Siphon on our helmet, we're going to be able to create Orbs of Power, which allow us to take advantage of these two mods. Now, if you want to run a Weapon Scavenger mod, you definitely could take these two off and run that, as well as taking off Harmonic Siphon. Well of Tenacity, however, allows you to take less damage from combatants for a short period of time after you pick up an Elemental Well. You get 3 times resist, and you pair that with 10 resil on a subclass, you're going to be having a ton of damage resistance. And then lastly, on our mark here, we're going to be running Perpetuation as well as Reaping Wellmaker. What Perpetuation does is it reduces the class ability cooldown when you use your class ability. So the more you use your Titan Barricade, the more you can get it back. Pairing that with Heart of Inmost Light, you're just going to be constantly spamming those barricades. And then Reaping Wellmaker, anytime you activate that barricade, you have a Void Elemental Well spawn next time you get a kill with a weapon, which again ties in perfectly with Well of Tenacity and Font of Might. Overall, this build is going to make everything explode. You're going to be creating Void Wells. You're going to be taking a ton of less damage. You're going to be doing more damage with your Void weapons. It is just an overall ton of fun to use this build. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to drop a comment down below if you use something similar to this, if you're going to try this build out, or if you know all about this build and have been using it before. Regardless, I appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.